The village in it with a map and a plan. No place too tiny for this determined man. Crossing the counties one by one, he'll see in every English corner a bit of history.
Welcome back to Harrogate again, everybody. Now, I wasn't supposed to be doing any more Harrogate episodes this year, but the reason I am is all to do with the football match, which by the time this video goes out, it should have already have happened. So you'll know the result. Gainsborough Trinity got drawn against Harrogate Town in the FA Cup second round. Hopefully, fingers crossed, Gainsborough won that match, but you guys will know the result before I do. Anyway, we're in a village here which is actually closer to York than it is to Harrogate. It's along the A59 and it's one of a pair of twins. This is Green Hammerton. Green Hammerton, Hammer Farm with a green. This weekend we're back in Harrogate and we've got a pair of twins to talk about. The last time we were in these parts we were in Wixley, and both of these villages sit to the southeast of that, separated by the A59. These are the Hammertons, Kirk and Green, and we start with the larger of the two. Green Hammerton is 8 miles west of York and 10 miles east of Harrogate. Its name means, like its neighbour, Hammer Farm, with green added to it to distinguish it from Kirk. Now, when I say hammer, don't be thinking about the tool that you use to knock nails into things. Hammer in this case means a type of plant, a hamer. The Hammer twins are pretty well served with amenities. They both have schools, churches, village halls and cricket clubs. They also share a railway station. That's in Kirk Hammerton though. Green Hammerton has the only pub between the two villages, the Bay Horse, and the only shop too, just over the road. It's a good thing it has those actually. Most of this one is residential and it's a growing village too. At its eastern end, there are loads of new builds which have increased its size dramatically over the last few years. We'll be checking those out. We'll also be talking about a neurologist who was born here, John Hughlings Jackson, a man whose work was very important for those with epilepsy. Briefing over, let's get walking and see what the Hammerton twins can tell us about life in this part of Harrogate. Oh, and if we stop at any point, I guess it must be hammer time. We start right in the centre of the village at the Bay Horse. This is the only pub in either of the two Hammerton villages, but there were others at one time. The Bay Horse has a history dating back to the 18th century. Although it's not known for sure when it was built, it is known that this was one of 3 drinking establishments in Green Hammerton in the year 1771. Thomas Flockton was the innkeeper at that time. Today, the Bay Horse Inn is a traditional family-run inn with 10 bed and breakfast rooms. It's open all year round and offers free parking, free Wi-Fi and breakfast too. The inn also has log fires, a beamed bar with dining areas and outdoor furniture. It's a typical Yorkshire village pub. Green Hammerton also has the Hammerton twins' only shop. This building is a combined shop, post office and cafe, which is open 6 days a week. The building began its life as 3 attached houses, the central house containing the original post office and a shop. They were built in the late 18th century, but they've had a series of alterations since then. The whole row is Grade 2 listed. Right, we can get this job out of the way nice and early this morning because there's a parish notice board right next to the area where the pub and the shop is, and that is the first of the Hammerton twins done. Now behind the camera here there's an interesting landmark that I didn't know anything about. Let's check it out and see what it is. Well, it turns out it's a map. Here we go. It's of Green Hammerton and Kirk Hammerton parishes. Green Hammerton is the area in the sort of yellow outline you can see here. And look at the difference between the two. Green Hammerton is very clustered. It's a very nucleated little village. Kirk Hammerton, very different. Linear, stretches from the A59 all the way to Cattle Railway Station. We'll see that tomorrow, but this is the place we're in, and let's continue walking around it. We're going this way towards the social club. Now, whilst the Bay Horse might be the only pub, Green Hammerton also has a social club, and yes, I do make the distinction between the two. Green Hammerton Social Club, or if you will, the Village Club, was originally a branch of the Royal British Legion which disbanded in 1975. It then changed its name to the Social Club, Green Hammerton, York Limited. This has also hosted events for the Green Hammerton Archaeology Society, including talks and walking tours. The Society is a group of volunteers who research the local history of the Green Hammerton parish. I would imagine they'd be very interested in this video. The building dates back to at least the 18th century. In 1803, James Potter purchased the property from the beneficiaries of Squire Man Horsfield. It was known back then as Homestead Garth and was leased to the Buck family. Let's move on to the playing fields. They also have a connection to the Buck family. Now, like all good playing fields, lots of sports are played on Green Hammerton's playing fields, including cricket and football. And that brings us to this goal you can see right here. Found a football on the playing field. It's been a while. Still got the skills. Cricket has been played in the village since at least the 1850s. In that decade, the York Herald reported on a cricket match between members of a Green Hammerton team, which was held at the Blacksmith's Arms. In 1856, the Yorkshire Gazette advertised the sale of land for the Green Hammerton Cricket Club by auction at the house of John Buck. It seems cricket has been played here ever since, although information about the current team was a little scarce. Even so, it's typically Yorkshire this, isn't it? A huge cricket pitch, lovingly and well maintained. It's just one part of the village's playing fields, and on one edge of them is the village hall. The Village Hall opened in April 2010 and it's run by the Green Hammerton Recreational Charity. It boasts a large hall of some 10 metres by 9.5, making it ideal for social occasions, fitness classes, business meetings and theatrical events. It's fully equipped with a sound system, microphones and an overhead projector. Comfortable cushioned seats are provided for up to 100 people, as well as a range of small, square and larger rectangular tables. The hall also benefits from a private meeting room with seating for up to 8 people. It also has a fully equipped modern kitchen and 2 changing rooms, which are used by the cricket club. Perhaps most importantly, there's a large decked area at the front with views across the playing field. And why wouldn't you want to sit there and watch a game of cricket on a fine summer's day? Okay, now we've reached a little lane that runs down to the primary school. You can just about see it there behind me. And this is linked to the church, which is right next door. And here's how. So here's the school. Education in the village can be traced back to 1874 when the original school building opened. Its construction was funded by Henry Richard Farrer, who lived at Green Hammerton Hall at the time. Farrer was inspired to do this by the Education Act of 1870, which gave all children the right to attend school. The Tancred Trust, which we covered in Wixley, donated the land for both the school and the church to be built on. The original school building is still part of the current school, but it's been extended and modernised a bit since the 1870s. 2024 saw it celebrate its 150th anniversary, and in recognition of that milestone, the school held a special 150 fortnight. It included a Victorian Day, the creation and burying of a time capsule, and a series of 150 challenges. They even got the circus involved to help celebrate. St Thomas's Church is next door to the school on the same piece of land that the Tancred Trust provided. It's an Anglican church, yes, but it's technically a chapel of ease. St Thomas's was designed by George Gilbert Scott as a chapel of ease to the Church of the Ascension in Wixley, and it was completed in 1876. Previously, Green Hammerton had no Anglican church, and the construction costs were funded by donations coordinated by a Mrs. Valentine, the wife of the vicar of Wixley. It was designed to accommodate 130 worshippers, making it one of the smallest of Gilbert Scott's churches. It was given a Grade 2 listing in 2008. It's built of pitch-faced stone with a red tile roof. It has a cruciform plan consisting of a nave, a chancel, transepts, an organ chantry and a porch. Between the nave and the chancel is a bellcote containing 2 bells. Its stained glass windows are by Clayton and Bell and James Powell and Sons. Now, one thing I still can't really understand as I've been travelling around these last 4 years is just how few doctor's surgeries there are in villages of Green Hammerton's size. Luckily, Green Hammerton has its own, and it can be found on the York Road. Named Springbank Surgery, it's a rural practice with a sister surgery in Tockwith. Working alongside the 2 partners, the practice have 2 salaried GPs and a retainer GP, as well as 3 practice nurses, a community nursing team, and 2 health visitors. And it's a good job Green Hammerton has this. The village is growing, and you don't have to go far to see evidence of that. This is Ambertone Park, an area of new builds which is the work of Avant Homes, North Yorkshire. There are 80 brand new houses on this estate which cost £21.5 million to build. The company announced back in May that 3/4 of the homes were occupied. As of the date of filming, just 3 remained available. All the remaining properties benefit from Avant Homes' spacious downstairs hallways leading through to open-plan kitchen and dining spaces with integrated appliances and classic French doors opening to the rear gardens. Upstairs there are generous bedrooms and stylish bathrooms with contemporary sanitary ware. Green Hammerton has excellent transport links to both York and Harrogate, providing homebuyers with the opportunity to experience the best of both urban and rural living, and it seems there's been significant interest in this brand new estate. Let's cut through it towards another part of the village. Now, all of those new builds are opposite another patch of new builds which you can see here. This is Hughlings Close, and that's an important name to Green Hammerton because it's the name of a man who was very important in neurological circles. John Hughlings Jackson was an English neurologist, best known for his research on epilepsy. Jackson was born at Providence Green in Green Hammerton, the youngest son of Samuel Jackson, who was a brewer and yeoman. His mother was Sarah Jackson, the daughter of a Welsh revenue collector. Sarah died just over a year after giving birth to him. He had 3 brothers and a sister. His brothers emigrated to New Zealand and his sister married a physician. John was educated in both Tadcaster and Nailsworth in Gloucestershire before attending the York Medical and Surgical School. In 1856, he became house physician to the York Dispensary. 3 years later, he found himself in London, working at the Metropolitan Free and London hospitals. During his time in London, he established his reputation as a neurologist and was elected a Fellow of the Royal Society in 1878. Though his range of interest was wide, he's best remembered for his seminal contributions to the diagnosis and understanding of epilepsy. His name is attached to the condition these days too. Epileptics suffer from what's known as the Jacksonian March. These are symptoms in focal motor seizures and the so-called dreamy state epileptics experience. Jackson also did research on aphasia, noting that some aphasic children were able to sing, even though they'd lost the power of voluntary speech. He also studied what types of language loss were found in patients with left brain injury, including set phrases. Together with his friends Sir David Ferrier and Sir James Crichton Browne, Jackson was one of the founders of the important journal Brain, which was dedicated to the interaction between experimental and clinical neurology. That is still being published today. Jackson was also one of the founding members of the National Society for Employment of Epileptics. In all, he was a very important man in neurological circles, and he died in 1911. His final resting place is in Hull. Our last landmark is the former Congregational Church, originally built as a Methodist chapel in the late 1790s. It was adapted for use as a Roman Catholic church dedicated to St Joseph in 1961. Until 2022, this was a chapel of ease to Our Lady's Church in Acomb, but it's now closed. Green Hammerton needed a Catholic chapel thanks to the closure of a ferry over the River Ouse. Beforehand, Catholics attended a purpose-built chapel in Nunmonkton over the river, which people got to by using the ferry service. They'd done that since 1870. However, shortly after World War II, the ferry service ceased to operate and Nunmonkton's chapel closed. In 1949, it was demolished. For just over a decade thereafter, Mass was held in the reading room next to the post office here in Green Hammerton. In 1954, Acomb was a growing suburb to the west of York, and 2 years later, Green Hammerton became part of their Catholic parish as it extended its area to nearly 200 square miles. Private car ownership was still rare in the 1960s, and many Catholics found it hard to make the journey to Acomb. This led to the purchase and conversion of the old Methodist chapel into a chapel of ease. And that's the way it stayed until 2020, when the COVID-19 pandemic forced the suspension of worship. And in 2022, the Diocese of Middlesbrough declared the building was no longer safe. Okay, we are back to the beginning. That's been a nice walk around this morning. So yeah, an hour and 12 minutes is all it took me to get round Green Hammerton. Now we need to go towards the twin, the second of the two Hammertons, which is Kirk Hammerton. So let's jump in the car and I'll see you there tomorrow. With one Hammerton down, it's time to move on to the next one. Join me tomorrow for the smaller of the two twins. It features a railway station, a pretty little beck, and a huge industrial area owned and managed by a nursery, which we met a few weeks ago. I'll see you there. Now, just before I go, remember, this video is part of a huge project to visit every civil parish in England. That's more than 10,000. These routes are pre-planned, and due to time constraints, I can't cover every detail or walk down every street. Please don't complain if this video missed something out. I pronounce names how I choose to. I am very aware that local dialect may vary, and I don't take kindly to criticism about this. You've been warned. It's impossible to know everything too. If this video was terrible, make your own. If you're a regular watcher of The Village Idiot, you're not the only one. If you've got a small business, why not use my videos to advertise it? Leave a comment below if you're interested. And finally, thanks for watching this episode, everybody. Give us a like and a subscribe if you've enjoyed this episode, and share it with your friends and relatives. It all helps to keep this mission going. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as The Village Idiot, and I'm out.